Okay, so I asked you here because of your TikTok that did go viral. Well, first I want to say, how are things since you posted that?
Yeah, so I had posted my negative account balance video being very vulnerable. And it was, I don't know, I was sitting outside on the bench outside of my apartment and I wanted to cry. And I kept thinking that I couldn't be the only person who was feeling this way, lost in life in a new decade. And so much has changed over the last 2 weeks. And I recently, 2 days ago, had gotten the job offer for a job. So I'm really excited. And a lot of people have reached out to me just one for financial literacy and education. Someone has reached out to me for like free training that they offered to just, which we're not taught,
Yeah,
and
no.
it, the amount of support that I've received in so many people in similar situations, and they felt so alone. I had over 200 DMs. I'm still not done going through everything of people in similar stories.
I've
And
been seeing all the support that, they've been giving you, and I just think that's wonderful.
yeah, it has been. I mean, some of the comments were mean, but
Yes,
people are
but
going
I
to say what
love
they're
the
going to
coffee
say.
comeback. I love it. I love the coffee. I do.
I was like, you're being mean. Let me just make a coffee that's a little my way of giving back to you.
It was perfect. It really was. I want to ask, now you originally moved. Now, where do you live? Is it
I'm in San Diego.
San Diego? Okay. I
Mhm.
knew I
Mhm.
was going to get that wrong. I was going to be like San
Mhm.
Francisco. Um,
You're okay.
you originally moved there for a job that you took because your first one you left for your mental health.
Mental. There are a few reasons. I'm open. I'm happy to talk about it. But yeah, my
Yeah, please.
mental
Anything
health,
you would like
physical
to
health,
share?
and last year my mom had gotten sick, and she lived. It was 2 hours or so away from where I was working. So I was trying to help her, trying to go to work, and it got to a point where she had landed up in the ER on a Monday, and then on Tuesday I landed up to have a surgery because I had a bacterial infection in my stomach. And my boss was originally really supportive, and all of a sudden, and I still to this day, I don't know what changed, but all of my work can be done from home. And so I was still working. I was having taking Zoom calls in the ER when my mom was in the hospital. I was in the hallway on Zoom. Yep, because I had like someone I was mentoring over the summer at work, and I felt really bad that I couldn't show up in person. And I was on holding my phone on Zoom, and I opened my computer in the corner, and I think when it had gotten to the point where it reached my own physical health too, and I asked about letting my boss know that I need to have like, if is there any sort of modification that you can have with me for working? And it was in August that she changed the expectations for um, our group,
Mhm.
and it added more work days in person. I was on a 3-day work schedule coming in person and 2 days remote because of how far I lived. And I don't know, my stomach dropped when I got the email, and I thought that maybe I wasn't included in these requirements given my circumstances. And we had a conversation, and she let me know that, this was just her expectations. And I was just shocked, surprised. She's been very supportive of me. I've known her for years too. And
Yeah.
I
And it
think at
just
that,
kind of came out of left field.
yeah, it's like, why aren't you, why are you not willing to work with me anymore? And I
Yeah.
said I didn't want to leave. I had no intention of leaving, but I just needed some
With
modification, some assistance,
anyone
some help.
that shows as much passion as you do, if you're in the ER and still trying to do
Mhm.
work-related tasks,
Mhm.
I know you cared about your job. That's
Yeah.
simple. I'm so sorry. Yeah, please
Yeah,
continue.
thank you. Sometimes it still stings thinking about it, but it just got to a point where I told her, I said, like, I'm not here to change your expectations, and if that's what you would like for, to be here, then I need to look for other options for work. So because I can't keep doing this, and I couldn't be in multiple places at once. I wasn't sleeping, and after having my own surgery and My mom had surgery and I was still working while she was in her surgery, while I was in the hospital. Another day, separate from me helping another student. Like I always made sure I showed up. And I said, because I could work from anywhere. And for my whole thing is, if you're doing good work and you can work from anywhere, why would I risk losing somebody when I could help, when I could just continue to help and support them?
Yeah,
And I know that
exactly.
they're there. I know that they show up. I think it'd be different if I didn't, that, I wasn't as productive, or, I wasn't open and honest and transparent, but I was the whole entire time. Anytime I had something come up. And I think that hurt the most because I wasn't ready to leave and I was doing my best to stay. And it
Yeah.
just, I made the decision for myself at that point that I said, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when I had applied to new jobs. And then I got the job, and then they laid me off 4 days before I was supposed to start.
I can't imagine packing up your whole life and
Mhm.
moving and then just bam. Sorry,
Mhm.
no. That's the most drastic part for me. Like I am so sorry
Mhm.
and I can't say that more than enough. I'm glad you are where you're at now and it's led you here. How is your partner through that? Are you a two-person income? Were they
Yeah.
supportive? Because I know that was
Yeah.
probably
So, I mean, to be honest, it wiped our savings because we live in. I mean, San Diego's expensive. It's an expensive city, regardless of where you live down here.
yeah,
And we had planned with my new income. That was how we were able to afford to live here. And with just his income alone, it barely covered rent and maybe food.
right.
That's it. And it just wiped. We had thousands of dollars in savings, and it just,
And that's just surviving.
yeah,
That's
and it was
not
just to
living.
survive. Yep. And I was doing a lot of side gigs, with the photography that I've done and tutoring and Rover. But when you have that drastic loss of an income, there was no way to replace that much amount of money that I was
Yeah.
going to be making.
No, I can't see that. No. But is there anything else you want to add on that? Talk about your old workplace?
I don't think so. I think it's just, in my eyes, if I was ever, a boss or a manager, and I had somebody who I knew was doing hard work and came to me and was being very open, honest, and transparent about the difficulty of their situation, and I could help support them to keep them because I know they do good work, I would do anything in my power to keep them.
I completely agree with you. It was like they were not meeting you that halfway. It was just
Mhm.
you were giving your all. You're like, I can work with you here. I can do this. I can do this. And
Mhm.
they were just like, it's either this or no.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I can just say that when I watched that video, you do matter. You are worth it. And I am somebody that preaches, you know, if that job is not good for you, leave it. So when
Mhm.
I watched your video, it was you did that. It wasn't good for your mental health at the time and you left it and then it blew up kind of,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Oh man."
Mhm.
So this is just another view for me as how I wanted to see, yeah, these things happen,
Yeah.
and the mental state, I can't imagine. I wanted to also ask you, this leads me,
Mhm.
what are some things that you did? I watched a few of your videos where you go outside,
Mhm.
and just sit, but what were some things that you did for your mental health through this period?
Mhm. I will be completely honest. I got laid off on the same day that a box came with all of my clothes that were supposed to start for that next week. And the last day I got terminated from my previous role. I think for the next week or so, I didn't leave the house in the beginning. I think I was in such shock and confusion that that could even happen. And everyone I talked to, they were like, "There's no way." I said, "No, no, no. There's way. There's way. It happened." And I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, and I really didn't care about anything at that point because, someone made a promise to me, I signed a contract, I was like, "How is this possible?" I went through everything, And it finally got to a point where I think it was like 5 days or so. I hadn't showered. I hadn't done any, like, I was just in a really, really low place. And my husband, like, we were like, we're just going to go for a walk. And I kept fighting it. And it was the first time that I saw the sun. I have like blackout curtains and everything because
Same,
I'm nocturnal.
same.
And I think because it was so cold too, because it was middle of November. It was right before Thanksgiving, and we went for a little teeny walk around the building, and I just started crying because I hadn't been outside in so long, and I realized that the world didn't end for me, even though it felt like it did. I was like, how am I going to get another job? It took me so long to get this one. It took me 2.5 months to get this job. Where is the money going to come from? Everything. And there are a couple things that I do, and it took me a while to get back to that place after this happened, but it was kind of like romanticizing the mundane aspects of life. Like, I would get up in the morning and I would tell myself, you got up. Like, I'm so proud of you for getting up. I would be talking to myself because sometimes that was just the best I could do in the morning. And I haven't posted these, but I started making little videos talking to the camera of, like, I think it's day like 10, day 15,
You
and
didn't mean
the
to
camera.
cut you off, but
No, go ahead.
you're an inspiration to me to make those videos. I don't want to cut you off, so please
Oh, no,
remember
no,
where
you're
you're
fine.
at.
Yeah, no
But,
worries.
um, for me, one of the hardest things of making this podcast is actually physically doing the work and hitting record.
Mhm. Mhm.
You have to hit record, you have to pull out your
Mhm.
phone, you have to set up the camera, and that's the hard part for me.
Mhm.
It's but you have been such an inspiration. Your smile on the videos, it's just a positive vibe. It's like, "Okay, I'm ready to start my day. Let me try it. I'm gonna talk to my phone. I'll talk to whoever's listening, and we're going to go at this day the best that we can." Okay? Whether it's a
Mhm.
$5 coffee from the coffee shop or the coffee that you make inside the house, like,
Mhm.
we're going to
Mhm.
tackle this day the best that we can. And I want to say thank you for being an inspiration to me to not give up. Each guest really is encouraging to me, and you have just been a wonderful. So please
Thank
continue where you
you.
left off. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Every time people say that, I like hold back tears because I think
Oh,
so
I
long
cry
I
so
suffered.
easy.
Yeah, I'm a sensitive person, and I think a lot of us suffer in silence, and I couldn't imagine anyone was in a similar position, or I didn't want to be a burden. There are always barriers I put up in my mind, and I just didn't reach out for help. I didn't want to have to share what happened to me. I was embarrassed for a
Yeah,
long time, for weeks on end. And I didn't put it on my resume. And then people asked me, well, what happened to your job? Why are you here? And then I realized I needed to just lean into it. It wasn't my fault. Someone laid me off after making a promise to me. I signed a contract. I went through the full onboarding process, and they just sniped it from me,
yeah,
and it wasn't my fault. I think that was the hardest thing because everything fell on me financially because I was at the loss of income now to provide. And if I did not have a partner, I can't even imagine. I just don't know. I probably would have just left my stuff and just drove away. I
I
honestly have no idea because I couldn't have, I would have gotten evicted. And that's what's crazy. It's just, companies don't care.
no,
You know,
yeah,
they made an error in their budget for last year, and it cost me my job, and it costs over 2,000 people their jobs because of it, that I know are also in very difficult positions because it took me so long to get a job afterwards, and they found out that they got laid off weeks or a month later. Some people found out the week before Christmas from the same company, and it's just, I don't know, the human aspect of it, that you like any part of
there
caring.
is none.
Yeah, because the only reason why you have a company is the people doing the work.
Hmm.
If the people are not doing the work, you do not exist. The
Yeah,
people who are at
but
the top.
I think companies are forgetting that. I think all
Mm-hmm.
they're thinking about right now is money, but if
Mm-hmm.
everyone if they just completely quit, let me tell you, it'd take a while before computers completely took over the world. Computers can't do
Mhm.
everything for you. Okay? If all these
Mhm.
humans stopped doing that work for you, they would be
Mhm.
in trouble. Something else you also do on your TikTok, was you like to share science tips.
Mhm.
Can you share a little bit about that of what you because you like doing that because I believe you have a PhD in
Mhm.
what is it?
It's in biomedical sciences.
That is so incredible.
Mhm.
That is
Thank
awesome.
you.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I did a lot of teaching, tutoring, and mentoring when I was in undergrad and grad school, and I just love when you're sharing something and or you're teaching somebody something and the light bulb goes off. It's the best feeling in the world, and I love trying to figure out how I think that's why I love grad school to an extent, but the idea of learning new things in grad school because learning how to break down such complex topics that I think so many of us just don't understand. I didn't know. And a lot of us, you don't know about health. You don't know about, you go to
Mm-mm.
the doctor and you kind of just get told something. And this kind of led in when we first connected about you asking how I got to become a scientist. And I think when I was in college and my dad was diagnosed with cancer, I had no idea what was going on. I He showed me a picture of like a scan and the tumor was there and I just saw a mass and I just looked at him and I knew cancer was bad, but I didn't know anything else. And they said the treatment he was going to get and the schedule and how aggressive it was. And I just thought my dad was going to die instantly. And I remember sitting there and I felt so frustrated that I couldn't ask questions. He was getting, you know, 6 weeks of radiation. And I was like, wow, that's aggressive. But I assumed that's just what's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
And I shifted my career because of it. I wanted to be in a space where I could contribute and make an impact in that way,
I
whether it's
love
in
that.
cancer research, disease, any type of health. And I realized when I posted a pap smear video on my page after getting 8 pap smears. I had just left the office and I was in the parking lot and I said, man, when I first got my first one, I showed up, I was so unprepared. And they just went in there, they went in for it, and I jumped because I had nobody to tell me, nobody to ask. And when I made the video, I said, this may not be for everybody. Some people's experience are nothing.
Yeah,
They go in, you're fine. But for anyone who isn't, I said, this might sound an exhaustive list in my head when I was making it. But the responses that I got, people saying, thank you so much I never thought about this. I've never wanted to go back because the experience was so bad. And I think one of the biggest things is like giving each other grace for everybody's experiences being different. Because some people were commenting that I'm lying, I was scaring people away. And I acknowledge if anything came off scary, but at the same time, the assumption that everybody has the same experience, I think is the reason why people don't speak up about their
agreed.
experiences because you think that your experience is going to be invalidated or no one will believe or couldn't possibly happen.
Yeah, or
And
they're so small that nobody will
yeah,
listen, and it's every
yeah,
voice matters.
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where I said, oh, well, that a lot of people liked and commented on this. I said, why don't I just share more?
Yeah, I loved that. I I definitely with your father, I think when I watched that, I related to you on that aspect too. Because I am doing this podcast, and I don't know if you've ever felt where you just finally feel like, "Oh my gosh, I'm finally doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm finally
Mhm.
fitting in where I belong." It's like somebody finally
Mhm.
dropped the triangle in the triangle slot. It's
Mhm.
like that's how I've been feeling, and what I mean by that
Mhm.
is, my stepfather, he was the healthiest out of all of us. He was the one that went to the doctor's appointments. He was the one that stayed
Mhm.
on top of everything.
Mhm.
And he had a heart attack uh in their backyard. Um and I didn't get to say goodbye. And it was just very quick and very unexpected.
Mhm.
And I have been a people pleaser for a very long time, and I realized I was really living my life for others.
Mhm.
And when my stepfather passed, I related to you because I said, "Okay, Peter," yes, that was his name. I said,
Mhm.
"I'm gonna start living my life for me
Mhm.
because I've always been scared of death. I realize now I can't outrun that,
Mhm.
but even
Mhm.
if I embarrass myself, even if
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm doing,
Mhm.
I'm gonna try it, you know,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I'm gonna give it my best shot." And when he passed, it really triggered something in me that said,
Mhm.
I don't wanna be scared anymore, and I've been meeting wonderful people like you,
Mhm.
and but but, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm terrible at venting sometimes, I
Oh,
apologize.
no, no, I think you're doing great. I I relate a lot. I saw you put your recovering people pleaser, and I said, "Oh, wow, same." Yeah, that I understand that a lot. I always am giving outwardly, and I never took the time. I think when I left that job, that was it was a defining moment when I had that conversation because I said I could have stayed and it might have killed me. And I
Yeah,
decided to have a really difficult, and I was choking up the whole conversation. I had a script that I wrote because I was like hyperventilating. And I said, wow, I've never stood up for myself before. Literally ever. I
so
let
proud of
things
you.
happen. And
Yeah,
yeah, I've never walked away from situations like that. I've had points where I've been in toxic relationships and it got to the point where they left me, even though I wasn't doing anything wrong. And I think, yeah, it's a good point. It's a very good point. Knowing, actually standing up for yourself. And it's hard. It's really difficult because I think the uncertainty too. I have a fear of death as well. When you said that, I said, oh, yeah, but it's true. We're living your life in that fear stops you from actually living your life. And then
I
you
agree.
realize all this time has passed and you weren't living.
Sorry. You hit me hard with that, I related so hard to that. I was like, "All this time has passed, girl, I'm married now, okay?" But I was sitting on my bed the other day and I was like, "When did this happen?" I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"I have my own house, my own bills
Mm-hmm.
now, okay?" I'm also very
Mm-hmm.
happy, like, the eggs, I can buy my own eggs and throw them at the fridge and no one can stop me now. But but it's like I was just sitting on the bed and I'm like, every milestone, I used to look at my mom and was like, "Mom, I'm turning 16. I'm turning 17, I'm getting my
Mm-hmm.
driver's license," and now I realized all the milestones are gone,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, "Where did all the time go? What happened?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I definitely relate to you on that.
Yeah, you spend so much time worrying or not doing. And I felt the same way. I've looked back. That's something that I've had to come that I think I'm still coming to terms with, that there's still so much life to be lived, even though those milestones have passed,
Yeah.
that there's a lot to look forward to in the future.
Right. There's
And
still so many
hopefully,
milestones out there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And having a different mindset and approach to life in general. I think when things like that happen and just something switches
It
for
does.
you, that just changes you forever.
Tell me about the journey to get the job that you have now and how excited you are and, what you can share.
Mhm. Yeah, so I got connected through somebody who knew somebody working at this company, and I found the job posting, and it just so happened to see that they were connected to somebody I knew, and they sent an email to the hiring manager, and I was so grateful. I got to meet with them, so they got to know a little bit about me, and they sent an email, and it helped me get past HR for this company. And I'm grateful because I applied in December. It was the Friday before Christmas. I applied for this job. I was applying to jobs all Christmas week too. I said,
I
they'll see my
believe it.
application when they come back. Hopefully I'm the first person on their desk.
Just watching like, I know you see it.
Yeah, I applied, and it was about every 2 weeks. It was a 4-stage interview process. And the applications closed in the second week of January, and then about every 2 weeks I had the hiring manager call, and then I gave a presentation to the group, and then I had a group interview call, had five references that I had to send, which I've never heard of, but it was fine. I was like,
Wow.
it's fine. I've never heard of it before, but I mean, I'm learning so much in this in general,
I
just
believe it. Me too.
of all these different types of people and types of groups and companies.
Mhm.
And about 2 weeks later, I got the invitation to the final interview stage, which was on site all day. And I met the group, and I don't know if you've ever had a feeling where you meet people, and it's been rare for me, that there's like a sense of comfort while you're there, and the conversation just flowed.
Yeah, it felt
And I was
natural.
looking around, and the thing that stood out to me the most was, normally whenever I have interviews or we go out to company lunches or any sort of thing related to work, the conversation always talks about work. It's like, you're here for an hour lunch. Why are we still talking about work? And I was sitting there at the interview, and not one mention of work was there for lunch. Everybody
Oh.
knew about each other's kids and family, where they were traveling to. And I was just watching everybody interact with each other. And I don't know, I was just in awe. And they asked me what type of environment I would want in my work environment, which I've never been asked before. And it was so refreshing, the conversations that I had. And I could feel how genuine people cared about the work that they were doing, but
It
also about
sounded
each
like they
other.
were caring about you as a
Mhm.
person and not,
Mhm.
just, "Okay, what can you do for us as a company?" It
Mhm.
that was nice. That I
Mhm.
can't imagine.
Yeah, it was refreshing. And I had told the hiring manager at the end of the interview that I said, I feel like I fit in here. And I said that I love the work that, you guys do. And I think that I could be a really valuable asset here. And she agreed about me, how she felt, and how she felt that I could be an asset. And
Dang
I know,
right, I hope.
yeah, I walked out there, I was skipping. I left the building, and there's a building next door that they're doing under construction, and I was skipping, and it was like a random Tuesday. I'm like skipping in the middle of the day, and all the workers were just looking at me, and I just
I love that so much. I'm so happy for you, I really am. I
thank you.
it feels like a year since I messaged you asking for this interview, and I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, when I get so nervous asking people for interviews because 'cause I'm still so small, and I was like, I know
Mhm.
I'm a human asking another human just to, if you would like to
Yeah.
talk.
But you're being vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there, and that is the hardest thing to do, because it's that you can always be rejected. The fear of
Yeah.
being rejected when you're being vulnerable, that someone won't accept or listen or hear. And I think that's why a lot of us, we just would prefer not to do things. I felt the same way. I don't know if you felt this way, but I joined TikTok 4 years ago. This week 4 years ago was when I downloaded TikTok, when
I love how
everything
you know that.
closed.
I don't.
It was a trend. I was in school, and they said, "Okay, you're not coming back tomorrow." I said, "Okay." And so I downloaded the app, but I've always wanted to create content, and I just said, why would people want to listen to me? I look at all these other videos, and everything looks so great, and I was like, I can't be an influencer. Who'd want to listen to me talk? What am I even going to talk about? And I decided, in the middle of unemployment, I was so depressed. And I was sitting at the beach. I was trying to fly a kite, and this little girl came up to me. She might have been 4 years old. And she said, "Oh, is there a unicorn on your kite?" And I said, "Yeah." And she started to fly the kite with me. She didn't care who I was. She's like, "Oh, let me show you." And I'm like, "This is, I, I, I don't know." It's the whole interaction. And the dad was just sitting there watching us. Like, yeah, you go ahead, just fly a kite with my daughter. And I was like, what? Kids don't care. Kids are just kids, you know? You
Yeah.
don't know hurt, pain, and any of that yet. And she was just
No.
excited that she's like, I have a kite too. It has a turtle on it. I said, oh, that's so cool. And it
The
just,
world hasn't broken them yet.
yeah, yeah. And I realized that we end up in a tunnel, I think, in working, and your
Mhm,
identity becomes work.
mhm.
And I think that's when I started posting on TikTok. I said, whatever happens, happens. I'll post a video, whatever thoughts I have, ideas. If they blow up, they blow up. If they don't, well, whatever. I had to just go in there with that mindset, and just in shock on the community and how loving that strangers are, that
Yeah.
you would never meet in real life, or me having, I don't know, the courage to actually have conversations like that in real life. I'm building it. I'm slowly building the confidence when I go out places to just be like, hey,
You're doing
how are
wonderful.
you? Yeah.
'Cause I'll tell you something, I don't know, it's a secret, but it's always it's always the interview that scares me, you know? It's like, okay, you just have to get in the interview, and then you're just
Mm-hmm.
talking, you're just
Mm-hmm.
talking, and then as soon as it's over, I am in my pajamas, my hair is up, and I was like, I did it, I succeeded, okay, it's over, I'll deal with it tomorrow," but
Yeah.
you did it, you can smile and say, "I did it," like, "Wow, it's over, but I did it."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did. I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of
Honestly.
you.
Like it takes, I know sometimes you just have to jump. When the water's cold in the pool and you want to stick your toe in, you just can't.
Yeah.
Some point you just have to jump and be okay with, I think that's the hard part. It's the unknown, the uncertainty of
Yeah.
what might happen.
I think a
And
big part is you also a part of you, you have to really love yourself. I don't know if
mhm.
it's the same for you,
Mhm.
but being such a people pleaser, I cared what
Mhm.
people said. I
Yep.
cared what they said
Mhm.
until one day I'm like, I know me. My
Mhm.
husband knows me.
Mhm.
Why am I letting these people that, don't know who I am dictate my thoughts and control how
Mhm.
I feel?
Mhm.
I am doing more good, even if only
Yeah.
one person hears me say, "I hope you have a great day," then
Mhm.
I hope that person has a great day. We share a lot, girl. Let me tell
Mhm.
you, I have it all wrote here. Loves randomly dancing. I went through the videos. I also do that in the mirror, okay, with my hair tied up and everything. I'm just
Uh-huh.
love that. And the Snoop Dogg affirmations, I'm adding that. I'm adding that to my list. Okay, that I was like, "That is me." 100%, like, I need that some days. I felt that.
You
Um
just, yeah, I don't know. Somebody commented on a video yesterday or the day before on, like, someone was struggling. What do you do to get out of your funk? And I said, honestly, sometimes it's hitting the music button and just like shaking it off, because your body stores so much
Yeah,
stress and weight, and just trying to let it go a little bit, because it's
yeah,
heavy. It's heavy. Yeah, and I think I don't know. I don't know if you feel this way, but I I think a lot over the years have lost community, lost
agreed.
connections with people, and we just go about our day, and that's it. You go to work and you go home, and you don't
Yeah,
really have, there's no ways really to have meaningful interactions or connections with people. And I've seen the opposite since posting on TikTok. That's been 2 months, I think today, since I started my account.
human aspect has been taken out of
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
I have a job where I work on the phones.
Mm.
If people keep being as mean as they are, then all they're gonna do is get those robots that they don't wanna talk to,
Mhm.
because they're forgetting that
Mhm.
these are people with emotions behind these phones,
Mhm.
and they can say whatever they want to, which
Mhm.
they can.
Mhm.
Um, but I agree with you. I feel like there's a lot of compassion and empathy and just that people have forgotten that we are humans.
Yeah. 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 Especially with the phone calls, that's so real
Yeah.
that I get frustrated when I get automated. Like, I like talking to people when I
Mhm.
have to call a service center or anything, but people get so angry at the people too. But then
Yeah.
you get angry at the robot, the automated system that you talk to.
Yeah.
So I, you know, I don't know. Whenever I have to call the call center or anything, I like to just have a conversation. I usually ask how people's day is going because I it's a lot. You're always on the phone with other people, and when you're in that type of industry and service, you are there to please other people in your work. That's what you have to do. And
Yep.
to just be treated like that, I think it's unfortunate that that's what happens. That people are just so frustrated, like you're not moving fast enough when you are doing your best and you're trying to have conversations, and people just don't care. I think
Mhm.
everybody is. It's like we're all rushing, but rushing where? You
Mhm.
know, it's I think that's what unemployment has also taught me is that I was given the gift of time, but the flip side is the lack of money. Most people want time, but having time in this aspect doesn't give you in the financial world. But I realized that it's free to go take a walk. It's free to go. I'm by the beach. It's free to go walk around and just see nature. I think that's what I started to really appreciate. And I would try to go at least once a day at some point for an hour, go walk around the park somewhere, or just get outside. I
It's
think
hard to do though, isn't it,
it's
sometimes?
hard. It's hard
Mm.
that I call it the activation energy for things that you have to like get over this hump to actually
Yes!
go out. I'm like, I know if I go outside, I will probably enjoy myself, but it's the barrier in my head to go and do it. To the just
I imagine it like plastic film. I don't know if you've ever taken your hand and just tried to, like,
yeah, try to
punch through, and it's, like,
yeah,
just stretching until it finally breaks. That's what I feel like.
yeah, yeah. No,
I completely relate.
100%.
Okay, I have one last question for you.
Mhm.
What's your favorite coffee? I have to know.
Ooh, that's a good question. So I I made this myself. Maybe I should name it. I don't know what I
Oh,
would.
okay, now I gotta try it. Please share.
So it's vanilla and toffee nut together. So it's a I don't know what you want to. I was gonna say vanilla, but that doesn't sound right.
Vanilla, okay.
Some word that yeah, I don't know what you would call it, but it's a vanilla and toffee nut iced latte with vanilla sweet cream cold foam on top. It's so
Okay.
good.
That
Most people
sounds so good.
have not tried toffee nut, and somebody commented on one of my videos, and they ordered on Amazon that night, and they commented the next day, and they loved it. So I said, maybe people just try it. I don't know, it's just there's something about the
I
toffee
don't
nut
think I've
flavor.
tried toffee nut, I've had hazelnut. So, I'll have to
Mm,
look for that.
yeah,
I'll look for that, and that's the syrup?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll do that. Um, thank you so much for being here.